Hey folks, so this is the first Hunchly video in a little while. We've been busy working on Hunchly 2.0. It is due to be released April 1st, but I'm recording this on March 30th, and I can assure you we are not going to hit that deadline, so we're moving that back slightly. So instead today what I'm going to do is give you a very quick, very high-level demo of Hunchly 2.0 and some of its differences, and hopefully this will kind of give you at least a little bit of an idea of where we're going with Hunchly and how we've improved it. So the same things applies in Hunchly 1. It's still a Chrome extension collecting information in the background. You're going to notice a few different things such as tags, and the overall extension is going to look a little different. But really the nice thing is underneath the covers, it's still doing the exact same thing. You do your browsing, it's going to capture all the pages. Now what we do with that information afterwards is the real difference in Hunchly 2, which you're going to see here shortly. So we flip on the capture. Voila. And now we're able to actually start our browsing just as we would normally. So I have the dashboard open in the left and my browser open in the right. And you can see immediately that the pages are showing up within the dashboard, which is really nice. So if you've got a dual monitor setup, or even if you have a large one large screen, you can actually keep your dashboard open. You can see kind of real-time updates as Hunchly's capturing data and collecting information. It's great. All the usual stuff from before works. You can see we're scrolling down and there's content being loaded. That all works the exact same way as before. And one of our favorite features is not going anywhere. We're still able to take notes. So this is something people really loved in Hunchly 1. We've maintained it in 2. And as you'll see later, notes are a big part of how we do reporting in Hunchly 2. So we've already taken a note both from the extension. We can actually do a right click and take a note as well. So this is a bit more convenient. Some of you are mouse people that you like this. So we can do it like that. We really do like Mark Zuckerberg. And he's very happy in most of these photos. Cool. So we can see again as these real-time updates happen, even with notes or searches or anything, everything's actually being updated continually in the dashboard. Now, the other nice thing is when we do evidence review in Hunchly 2, it's vastly different. So we can actually view the local content. So as we're scrolling down here, this is actually not loading off the internet. You could run this in a completely isolated machine. We are actually loading all the content locally from disk, which is great. We have the page information, including the hash, just like before. Now we also do some data extraction in Hunchly 2. So here we've taken the user ID from the Facebook profile that we viewed. So Mark Zuckerberg's user ID is number 4. But of course, as you're browsing other Facebook profiles, you're going to see that it's automatically collecting this information in the background for you, useful for report writing and other things. But this is all happening for you. We have numerous data extractors that run, and we're always asking our users, what other data do you want us to pull out of pages as you're browsing around? So that's a useful thing that just happens in the background. And in the page path, this is our first page, so there's no real path, but you'll see later how that works. If we wanted to add a note, we can actually do it right in the evidence review. So as you're scrolling through pages, and you can actually use the right and left keyboard arrows to scroll through pages to view evidence, we can add notes from right within the screen, which is really useful. We can mark pages as important. We can export them to HTML or actually dump out a PDF of a single page, which is really good. Or we can delete a page. Cool. So this is kind of the core page capturing features. Nothing really new there. How we display it is cool. Everybody loves selectors in Hunchly 1. They work the exact same way. You punch them in. Hunchly's going to track those selectors everywhere you go. It's looking for that particular term in every page and in the JavaScript source code. We can filter our history based on selectors, and you'll see how we can actually combine selectors and tags when filtering our history, which is super useful. And we've actually got some really powerful photo tools as well built right in. So our usual stuff that most people do is they'll tag an image, they'll add a caption saying, this is Mark smiling, for example, great. And then that will become part of their report. So you'll see later in the report builder that this is really useful. We're able to kind of drag and drop these photos. But Hunchly actually is doing some additional work in the background. So if we have, for example, we have a photograph with EXIF data, Hunchly automatically has already, on this page, pulled that image out and extracted the EXIF data. Now we can tag that image manually if we want, so we can just say a boat with EXIF data. If you guys know my demos, you'll know that my cat knows when I'm doing a demo. So right now it literally came to my chair and is crying. You might hear it. So this will be not something new to you. Watch my dark web video, you'll see the same thing. All right, so clicking on the EXIF badge for that particular photograph is going to show us all the EXIF information that was extracted, and if there's GPS available, it'll take us right to the map. Isn't that cool, Pippa? Yeah, it's super cool. All right, the cat likes it. And we also have the ability to just click that link that says all photos with EXIF, so any photographs we've encountered at all, not just tagged ones, will show up in that all photos with EXIF, and you can browse through them, and you can actually tag photos from that view as well. Cool. So now let's talk a little bit about tags. So this is a way that you can categorize pages while you're doing your investigation. So I'm going to add a tag, just call it social media. So this will be for any sites or pages that I go to that have social media on them. This will be useful for me later when I'm doing case review, of course. So we'll just browse to my social media, or sorry, my Twitter page. Easy peasy. All right. So now what we can do from the extension is we can just simply go in and apply the social media tag. You can have as many tags as you want. So we're going to apply the social media tag. We can see that's already updated in the dashboard. If we go to our history view, the tags are denoted. So we can see social media right beside my Twitter profile. Really useful. Now, we can also retroactively add tags if we've already captured a particular post. So not only that, but we can filter our history based on tags. So you can combine multiple tags together. We can combine tags and selectors when we're doing filtering. Here again, I'm just showing how from the evidence review, if we forgot to tag something, we can apply a tag later as we're doing our case review. So now we've got 2 total pages. And you can see there where we have Zuckerberg and social media, tag with social media. So here's a way to do filtering where we're saying, hey, it has to have this selector and this social media tag, and show me that in the history. So this is really useful as you're doing some case analysis. Okay, now another cool feature is that when you tag a page, Hunchly's actually looking at the site that you tagged it on. So if we tagged one particular Twitter profile with the social media tag, automatically Hunchly is going to assume that any other Twitter profiles you're going to want to tag with social media. Now you can remove those tags later if you want. This is a convenience feature so that it's kind of looking at what you've tagged already and automatically applying that tag later. So definitely a useful thing to save you time from having to go back and continually do those tags over. All right. So another kind of convenience feature here is the ability to look at, when clicking on that little clock, look at all captures for that particular URL. So it'll tell you, hey, in this current case, you've captured this URL, 2 or 3 times. Here are the timestamps on them. And if that URL was actually in another case that you have loaded, it'll tell you in that other cases tab as well. We have some convenience clicks where you can just one click search the Google cache for that particular URL. So this is handy. Or you can one click look at the Wayback Machine. So it'll automatically build the URL. It's a one-click operation to just kind of go, okay, I want to search for, I want to look through this on this particular URL. Very cool. All right. So that's kind of some high-level tagging, filtering, some convenience clicks that we can do. We did photos. Now let's talk a bit about case attachments. So case attachments are anything that kind of falls out the regular scope of a page or a photo. And this means that as you're browsing around, you might download a video file, you might download a Word document if you're doing corporate due diligence. If you're downloading malware samples, for example, while you're doing a cybersecurity investigation or research, we want to be able to kind of grab that stuff and stick it in with this case so that it all stays together. You've got a couple of options here. The first is you can add them manually here, or in your settings panel, you can actually tell Hunchly, hey, I want you to automatically attach downloads to the current case. So once we turn that on, every time you download a file, it's going to automatically look that and see that Chrome has downloaded a file. It's going to make a copy of it, hash it, and automatically assign it within the case. So this is extremely useful, again, as you're browsing around and you're doing this work. that you don't have to think about, hey, how do I manage these external documents, or what do I do with these things? So if we click on this first Word document that we see here, the download happens. Boom, we can see the source, the file name, when we downloaded it, and behind the scenes, we've actually hashed that attachment as well. So this is really useful for us, especially if you're compiling a lot of information from disparate sources. And I know that due diligence people deal with a lot of PDFs and Word documents. Checking out the data tab here, this is all the extracted data as you're browsing through your case. So this is email addresses we've picked up, Facebook user IDs. We've got a couple of Twitter usernames that we've found. So we can actually click on those. We also do things like Google Analytics codes. So you can actually click on an analytics code, apply it as a filter, as we did here with Hunchly, the Twitter account. You can do a Google Analytics code where you apply it as a filter, and you'll see all the sites that you browse to that had that analytics code. Then you could, of course, go and run that code on Spy on Web or Analyze ID, for example. All right, cool stuff. So now that we've got some of this information compiled up, we can actually use some powerful full text searches. So here's just searching for the term Hunchly. Gives us some results. We can actually refine it down by selecting a particular case we only want results in. We only have one case. We can do date range searches, so if you're doing long-running cases. And we can actually filter based on pages or photos. And how that happens is the EXIF data that's extracted from photographs is actually stuck into the full text index. So if we do a search, for example, for GPS latitude, we can see that we get that photograph back that had that in one of its EXIF fields. So you could actually search for camera types if you wanted to, or if you're dealing with somebody that actually has their name attached to the photos in the EXIF data, you could run their name through and it'll come back with all the pages and the photos that had that particular name in them. So this is a pretty unique feature, really powerful. We're constantly expanding some of this full text searching, and we're really excited to see people use this. Okay, cool. So once we've got some information, of course, exporting is an important thing. We can do a full case export, so that's going to dump everything out, or we can do a selective one. So selective means we can just pick and choose the things we want to export. This is going to create a zip file of just the things that we select, and we can add or remove various elements. Again, this is really useful depending on if you need to do court disclosure. Or we have this great drag and drop report builder, which is significantly different than how Hunchly 1 does its reporting. So with the report builder, we start out with a section, and we can rename that section whatever we like. This will actually show up as a heading within the Word document when it gets exported. So I'm just going to call this executive summary of stuff. Now we can actually drop in notes or photographs from our investigation. And notes are really handy because they include that screenshot. And photos, of course, are great because often investigators are building galleries of their targets. And we can also dump in just a simple text paragraph if we want to add some context to it. Note that any of the photographs that get dropped in that have EXIF data in them, the EXIF data will also be included in the report. And the reason why we like Microsoft Word as kind of the output format is because it allows you to kind of build that report up and easily go in and edit it later. All of this report work that you do is saved, so you can kind of work on it a little bit, go back to investigating, come back and work on it before you export it. So it's always maintained. Anytime you load this case back up, the last kind of report that you built will always be there and be ready for you. So this is a very whirlwind tour of some of the high-level things. There's many more features and stuff going on behind the scenes, and there's report customization. There's other stuff that we can do, and I can show you. I just wanted to do this quick update so that you all knew kind of where things were at and why we're not releasing April 1. We still have a few rough edges that we're working out. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Justin@hunch.ly. We have a number of beta testers who are finishing up their testing now, and I'm always interested to hear your feedback. So if you saw something that you thought was cool here or saw something that didn't make sense, send me an email, let me know, and I'm looking forward to getting in touch with you very soon when this bad boy is released. Have a good one.